My front door exploded open in the middle of the most important meeting of my life. No knock, no warning, just a clipboard-wielding lunatic named Miranda Stone storming into my lake cabin like she owned the place. The president of the Lakeshore HOA, the woman who'd been terrorizing my neighborhood for months, had just walked straight into a meeting with the Attorney General of Michigan and sealed her own fate. 8 months earlier, my life was already hanging by a thread. I wasn't some action hero or survivalist. I was a guy with PTSD, recently divorced, trying to rebuild some kind of peace with my 12-year-old daughter, Emma. The cabin my grandfather built after the Korean War was all I had left. Old cedar beams, a dock that creaked in the wind, the kind of silence that didn't make my heart race. It was supposed to be a sanctuary. Turns out it became a battlefield. I met Miranda Stone on a cold Tuesday morning, the kind of gray that makes you wish you hadn't gotten out of bed. It was 7 a.m. when someone started hammering on my door, like they had a warrant. I opened it, and there she was, late 50s, hair sprayed into submission pearls on her neck, clipboard in hand, wearing the expression of someone about to enjoy ruining your day. "Mr. Clark," she said like she was announcing a verdict. "I'm Miranda Stone, president of the Lakeshore Community Association. You're in serious violation of multiple property codes." That was my introduction to HOA hell. She didn't come to talk, she came to threaten. She rattled off unpermitted structures and environmental hazards, then dropped the bomb, an emergency lien that could force me to sell my cabin within 30 days. When I asked what this was really about, she smiled. "Does your little girl know her daddy is breaking the law? Unstable veterans are such a safety concern these days." I stood there, fists clenched, feeling that familiar burn rising in my chest. She knew about my PTSD. She'd done her homework, divorce papers, custody schedule, even my VA treatment notes. It wasn't an inspection. It was psychological warfare. And she hit my weakest spot, my daughter. That night, after Miranda left with her smug smile and stack of fake citations, I sat in the flickering light of the fireplace, wondering if she was right. Maybe I was dangerous. Maybe Emma really was safer without me. PTSD has this way of making you doubt everything, your memories, your worth, your sanity. But then I remembered what my grandfather told me when I was a kid getting bullied at school. Good men don't back down from bullies, Nate. Not because they like to fight, but because someone has to stand up for the people who can't. So I dug through old boxes looking for anything that could help, and there it was, a manila envelope, dusty and forgotten. My grandfather's original deed from 1960. When I laid it next to the current survey, I laughed out loud. Miranda's fancy HOA garden, her pride and joy, was 15 feet onto my property. Her HOA office, her converted garage, was sitting entirely on my land. For 2 years she'd been trespassing while claiming I was the violator. But going after her meant declaring war, and wars have casualties. Emma would be caught in the middle. So I stayed quiet for a while. Then Miranda went nuclear. Within 48 hours, she'd filed a fake court order called Emma's School, claiming I was unstable, and told the town diner that the PTSD vet by the lake was a danger to children. People stopped talking when I walked in. Parents pulled their kids closer. My ex-wife called me in tears. "Nathan, they're saying you're unstable. Maybe Emma should stay home until you get help." That broke something in me. For a few nights I actually considered disappearing, just packing up, driving north, letting Miranda win. But then, one evening, a pickup truck rolled into my driveway. Out stepped Frank Torres, the surveyor who'd been with Miranda that first day. He looked like a man who hadn't slept in weeks. "She used me, Nate," he said quietly. "She's blackmailing me over back taxes, made me falsify your property lines." He handed me a folder filled with documents, photos, and audio recordings. Miranda had done this before an old widow, a young military couple, a small business owner. Same playbook every time: fake violations, public humiliation, forced sales. She preyed on the vulnerable, the isolated, the ones who couldn't fight back. Frank's confession gave me fuel, but I needed a weapon. That's when Jane Walsh came into the picture, a property lawyer with fire in her eyes. She'd lost her own family farm to a crooked HOA 15 years earlier. When I told her about Miranda, she didn't even blink. "Nathan," She said the Attorney General's office is building a case against HOA fraud statewide. If your evidence is solid, we can burn this thing down. We started building a case bank, transfers, falsified surveys, testimony from Frank. But the turning point came from the last person I expected, my daughter. Emma had overheard Miranda outside her school bragging on the phone. She'd recorded it thinking it might help. When I played the clip that night, my blood ran cold. Miranda's voice came through clear as day. The daughter's the weak point. Make the father look unstable around her, and custody will handle itself. Once he loses the kid, he'll be too broken to fight the property seizure. My 12-year-old looked up at me with wide eyes. "Daddy, you're not dangerous, right?" I swallowed hard. "No, sweetheart, but that woman is." That recording changed everything. It turned our case from property fraud into federal conspiracy, child endangerment, interference with custody racketeering. Jane said the state would jump on it, and they did. Attorney General Helen Stone herself wanted to meet at my cabin of all places to review the evidence in person. We scheduled the meeting for a Thursday afternoon. Jane and I prepped like it was a military op: folders, video files, bank records, even a highlight reel of Miranda's illegal antics caught on my hidden cameras. Frank would come by later to give his statement. For once, I felt in control again. But Miranda had spies, one of them her ex-husband, the county commissioner's chief of staff. 2 days before the meeting, Frank called, whispering, "She knows something's coming. She's panicking." Talking about a surprise inspection. I should have expected it. I just didn't realize how spectacularly she'd self-destruct. At exactly 2:23 p.m., while I was sitting across from the Attorney General, my front door exploded open. Miranda stormed in heels, clicking, face-red voice booming. "Mr. Clark, this property is under emergency inspection. Multiple safety violations." She froze mid-sentence when she saw who was sitting at my table. Helen Stone didn't even flinch. "Ma'am," she said evenly, "you just committed criminal trespass and obstruction of justice in front of the Attorney General of Michigan." Miranda blinked. "You can't wait? Her two contractors looked like they wanted to melt through the floor." Helen gestured to the stacks of documents on the table. Financial fraud, witness tampering, conspiracy, and now illegal entry. Then Frank walked in. Poor guy froze when he saw the scene. "Oh, wow," he muttered. "So we're doing this now." Miranda whipped toward him, desperate. "Tell them, Frank. Tell them about his violations." Frank pulled out his phone. Hit play. Miranda's own voice filled the room. "I don't care if it's legal as long as it looks convincing in court." She went pale. For the first time, she looked scared. Helen Stone rose slowly, her voice calm but final. "Miranda Stone, based on the evidence presented here and your actions today, you are under investigation for racketeering, fraud, embezzlement, child endangerment, and obstruction of justice." Miranda stammered something about harassment and grabbed her phone, dialing frantically. "Richard, get them out of here. This veteran is dangerous." Helen raised an eyebrow. "Calling your county contact won't help you now, ma'am." 2 state investigators stepped inside the cabin, badges flashing. "Miss Stone, one said you're under arrest." She screamed all the way to the car. "This is a setup. He's violent. You'll regret this." But no one listened. Her ex-husband arrived minutes later, saw the cuffs, and just turned around. He'd already flipped cooperating with federal prosecutors weeks before. The irony was almost poetic. When the door shut behind her, I just stood there, hands shaking, adrenaline draining out like air from a punctured tire. For months she'd made me question my sanity, my worth as a father, my right to exist in peace. And now she was gone, dragged away by the same system she'd manipulated to destroy others. The next morning I learned her entire operation had been dismantled overnight. HOA dissolved, bank accounts frozen. Every family she'd targeted restored. The widow got her garden back. The military couple kept their home. Frank started an honest surveying business using the reward money from his testimony. Me, I didn't celebrate. I didn't need to. Justice had a sound like the echo of her clipboard hitting the cabin floor when she realized she was finished. I never thought I'd feel peace again. But standing by that lake at sunset, I finally understood what my grandfather meant all those years ago. Good men don't back down from bullies, not because they want to fight, but because if they don't, nobody will. And if there's one thing I learned from Miranda Stone, it's that power built on fear always collapses the moment someone stops being afraid.